Oh, the more the better, and I'm gonna get a lot of hate for saying that, but if you are a true transsexual, which is a buzzword apparently, you can handle being questioned. You can handle like yeah, being questioned because like the clinics here in Denmark they're great, but not great enough because
Yeah.
I never heard them once say gender dysphoria.
Welcome, everybody. Got a very special guest today. We're going to be talking all different, all different issues, especially mostly trans issues. Um, Pretty good friend of mine, I consider. We've talked a lot online. We've been trying to set this up for about a month now. So without further ado, this is Marcus, otherwise known online as the Offensive Tranny, right?
Yes.
So how did you come up with that name?
I I really liked do you know Slightly Offensive?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
his name. There's something about having the word offensive in the username. It sounds so great. And I'm a tranny, so I'm
There you
a
go.
offensive tranny.
Yeah, and so I guess that's the next. So yes, you are female to male, transsexual, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And so you live in Denmark, right? Okay.
Yes.
Um, what and you're very involved in American politics. So my first question, I guess, right there would be, how did you get so involved in American politics?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been interested in politics, Danish, of course. And then the internet, I had the internet and I started watching Milo Yiannopoulos and some Fox, I think, like in the beginning, I don't anymore. And I just got really interested in Jordan Peterson and all these people who just, are warriors in this culture we have. And I was really fascinated, and I'm
Hmm.
becoming more and more fascinated by the American culture as well as politics.
And when did that start? Like how long ago?
Oh, I don't even know. I think 2017, maybe.
Okay, so
So
I mean it's relative, but you're relatively young, so
yeah, I'm 21, just to clarify.
yeah, yeah. Um, but that's interesting. Now you had talked about before you're moving to the US, or are you just coming to visit, or what's going on there? Because I know it was kind of ambiguous of what you said online.
Yes, I planned a 3 month trip to the US, and I was supposed to be there right now from September to November. But yeah, obviously I can't go.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
and it didn't include Atlanta on it. So next
yeah,
when you actually plan it, you gotta plan to stop over.
yeah, maybe next time.
Yeah. So I always find it really interesting because I know nothing about you guys' politics, and I don't think many Americans know about global politics except for what we know about, Russia and China, the bad places, right?
Yeah.
And then, but I know there's a lot of people like you, Rose of Dawn is over in England, and a lot of them are very involved in American politics. So it's always interesting to hear your guys' perspective. Um, so what's the feeling going on over there about like all of our election stuff happening right now?
I think I just heard that Denmark is the European country that hates Trump the most, which I can completely clarify, not clarify. Yeah, I can stand by that because it's people hate him so much, and it's actually something that you expect people to hate him. Like people, if I talk to someone, they just say some nasty things about him and expect me to agree with them. It's
Yeah.
so crazy.
Yeah, and that's not much different. It's not much different than what I see here. I mean, um, it was a couple days after the election. my neighbor just came outside, and it was kind of she's a trip anyways. Um, she goes, "Oh, congratulations." I'm like, about what? And she's like, "Oh, like," I'm like, "Oh, you mean because they called it for Biden?" I'm like, eh. And she goes, "Oh, did you not vote?" I said, I voted, just not for Biden."
Oh no.
Blew her mind.
Oh my God. That's
um,
crazy.
I've also noticed a lot more here lately is there's a lot of people you can see the shift, especially in the LGBT community and everything like that. You can see the shift of people moving further right. Like, it's always funny when you come out to people, or when people come out to you, of the proverbial political closet, right? Because um, I was talking to a couple friends of mine, lesbian friends of mine, and I was just like, "Oh, my friend is a YouTuber, and had been around for a while." And they're like, "Oh, come on, name drop." And I said it was Ariel, and that's when they were like, "Oh, she's woke, or she's red pilled." And so they're like, "We love Ariel." I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Awesome. Yes.
So it just really helps with a lot of those relationships, but people are so apt to like not come out, and it's like, come on now.
You just have to.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess switching gears from that as well. So you are, like we said before, female to male. Now, how long have you been on your transition?
My physical transition, so tomorrow I've been on T for 15 months.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm getting top surgery in 10 days.
That's insane. That's insane. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm so
how
excited.
how you're excited? Nervous at all?
Mm, I'm not nervous. I don't look forward to the recovery because I will be
Yeah.
like, yeah, I can't do much.
Yeah, I get that. And I haven't talked about it at all on here, but like I have two consultations coming up for bottom surgery, and it's like, oh
Oh,
my
that's great.
God. But I've been on hormones just about as long as you then, because it'll be 2 years in March.
Oh,
So
that's nice.
yeah. It's like the grand journey. Um so typical, I guess, question, right? Like, how did you know that this was what was right for you?
Yeah, it took me a while because I was about 15 and 16 before I knew. And I didn't show a lot of signs growing up. I don't remember, I don't have the typical stories that
Mm-hmm.
that you hear from trans people. But I'm also more on the feminine side as a guy, so I
Yeah.
think that's natural, you know.
Yeah.
I played with dolls, I did all these
Yeah.
things. Um, but I had a big lack of inner peace always, and I never knew what it was. So identifying as a lesbian, it wasn't enough, to me.
Yeah.
I didn't feel complete. And then naturally, becoming older, I became more masculine. Well, I dressed more masculine. It's on the outside. You can say that, wearing feminine clothing made me dysphoric, even though I didn't know what that was. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I can relate to that so much, because that was kind of my whole experience too. Because a lot of people would say I was more on the masculine side, and I still like to do a lot of those same like masculine things, like um, go out, get dirty, but then I like to do my nails, and I like to dress feminine. I like to, I have so many heels and stuff like that. So it's like it's not something that people expected, but I mean, shoot, I transitioned later, obviously. Like, I was 28 when I even came out for the first time to my ex-wife. Um, but I can go back to times when I was 4 years old and remember, oh yeah, I knew something was different at that point, right?
yeah.
So
But it's perfectly fine because people who are not trans, men and women, they also have, some are masculine, some are
oh
feminine.
yeah. Well,
So
one of my best friends that is very, me and her are like the same person. Like we are exactly the same person. Like we both, I mean, it's like, shoes, bags, and everything like that. But she rides motorcycles and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah. So she likes to go fishing. I'm like, are we the same person? She
Yeah.
didn't, and that was what was funny is because she didn't know I was trans. Like the first like couple times we hung out, and we were talking about doing how me and my ex-wife had to try IVF to have kids.
Mm.
And she goes, well, did she do it or did you? I was like,
Oh.
um, I'm transsexual.
I
She's
don't
like,
really.
and then yeah, I pulled my phone out and started showing pictures and stuff. She's like, yeah, that's totally a dude. she,
Is that
she
your partner?
she was blown away, which is
Yeah.
actually what I was gonna say to you, and I think it's amazing because you've been showing pictures of before your transition, which I absolutely love seeing when other trans people do that. Um, you don't see it a lot though, I don't think, with female to male. You see a lot of it with male to female, but
Mm.
still not enough because a lot of trans people like to hide or try to think that it never existed as who their previous life was.
Especially trans guys. I mean, most. No, I won't say most, but like a lot of trans guys are living stealth. Especially here in Denmark, I hear a lot that people are like, "You're the first trans guy I've ever met," and I'm like, openly trans guy.
Yeah.
Correction, because I
Yeah.
think because testosterone is such a powerful drug that you don't need to say it to people, but I
Yeah.
just choose to do it anyways. So,
Yeah. Well, because and that's it's so weird that I love talking to trans guys because the experience is so much different.
mm.
um we all go through it's different hardships that we go through. Like you have to have top surgery. Now I might have top surgery to get bigger, right? But like you're like the testosterone will help push your facial hair and everything like that, to whereas we have to get that permanently removed, like some but you guys have a lot harder process when it comes to surgeries and stuff like that, because if you wanted to have bottom surgery, that's like crazy expensive.
It's hell. Yeah.
And it's not even, the results for trans women can be absolutely phenomenal, but for trans
Mm.
men you're just hoping for something.
Uh, Not that good.
Yeah, so yeah,
And
but I absolutely love seeing your pictures too, because
thank you.
but I think it's important, it's like I said, especially for trans guys to be out there showing who they are. And I, for one, am very proud of who I was before I transitioned. I'm proud of my transition. So that's why I do the video. That's why I started doing this stuff, is because I'm proud of who I was. I'm not here to hide that. And I think too often trans people just want to hide. They just want to live stealth, and they just want to um, either live stealth or you know
Be private.
or become a activist, right?
Yeah.
but usually it's not transsexuals that are activists. It's now
Mm.
the non-binary crowd and the
And allies.
yeah, and the self ID crowds, right? Yeah, and it's mostly the allies, because I see cis men are the ones calling me transphobic all the time.
Oh God. It's so 2020.
Oh, absolutely. um okay, so I guess we'll just dive right into it as well, because your views on trans kids, because I know we actually disagree on this a little bit. So, but I
Yeah.
think it's important that we have this conversation. Um,
Yes.
and people should know that we can disagree on this issue, and I think there's more common ground to be found on these issues.
Definitely.
So why don't you just kind of explain what your view is, and like what you is you had a video not too long about this issue, so floor
Yeah.
is yours.
Well, I'm against children transitioning. And of course, from 16 and 18, that's like a gray area because you're not a little baby, right? But, you develop a lot in those years also. So my stance on like, is it 18 plus or 16 plus? Maybe that can change in the future. But right now, I'm more on the 18 plus side,
Okay.
like it is here, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and I understand the thought behind that. I think a lot of people have that. I just don't like the blanket statements that should be like set in stone. That's where it is, because um I am more in the 16 plus, because we know that once somebody turns 16, that detransition rate drops below 2%, which you're always going to have a percentage. And when you're looking at 2% of 1%, it's really not that many people.
Yeah.
Um, I think, and that's actually called the Dutch model. So in it starts with hormone blockers until the person turns 16, and then they can decide to transition if they want. Um, I think that model only works though if we if mental health providers are not scared to make the difficult calls and the difficult diagnoses, right? So if it's difficult, I mean, they can't be afraid of the rage mob to say, I don't think you're trans. I don't think you should go on these hormones. Um, because they can lose their licenses, they can lose lose everything. And so I think the only way that works though is if we can protect those providers in some sort of way, make sure that they're doing the right thing, because we
Yeah.
know even Rosa Dawn had the video a couple months ago about Barbie Kardashian,
Yes.
and they actually told her, like, they did not diagnose her with gender dysphoria. So the system can work if we let it.
Yeah. Of course.
um and I know your whole point too was one of the arguments coming from a lot of those trans kids and stuff like that is the suicide issue. I
Yeah.
think that's probably my biggest concern. That's why I go with, you know, the reasoning that I go behind, because we do know that it is an issue. Um, Suicide is an issue in the trans community, period.
Yeah.
We also know that if somebody transitions later, um, the odds that them passing is going to be very minimal. And then they put so much stock in all these surgeries that they have, that when they don't completely like miraculously change their life, it's like all they have left, because the regret rate is like 1.3%, but the suicide rate is over 40%.
Yeah. But the thing about it, like the suicide rate that we hear all the time, what is it,
I
41%?
think it's 41. Yeah.
Why is that? Like I hear maybe I think I've heard 20 explanations of why that it is so high, right? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, is there even an answer? Is it a mix of all?
Yeah, I think I mean, I haven't heard any main answers. I have read enough articles that have said that, puberty blockers are now proving to be saving lives. We also know that that number can be reduced by 80% if parents are accepting of their kids. So that's the biggest issue I think I've seen is um, is acceptance in family, because people can live in society and deal with that, but when you lose your family, that's it.
Very depressing. Yeah.
There's not, it's not what you really don't know how to go forward from that.
Mm.
um which is absolutely insane because of what we saw in the last election, people canceling their family for voting for Trump, which is insane.
Yeah. It's so
It's like the
true.
exact opposite of what we're talking about right now.
Yeah. They, the same people who would be against parents zoning their
Yeah,
kids, like, oh my God.
absolutely. I don't understand people sometimes, because it's the LGBT communities telling their parents that, and you're like, but they accepted you. you know
Yeah.
you got lucky there. I mean, that was a big thing when you came out, right?
Yeah.
I don't get it, but so when it comes to that, I do know that's part of the case. And I think we also need um doctors to be more,
Professional.
well, yeah, I think that they need to, not only do they need to be able to call a spade and like you're not trans.
Mm.
But they also need to be more informative when it comes to, you know, what hormones somebody's taking, or what puberty blockers can actually do. The reports are they're relatively safe, but they can have side effects of infertility and everything like that, which we know kids that 13, 14 years old aren't thinking about that.
Yeah.
And then I also look at videos like London's video that she had when she did, you know, the defense of trans kids. And one of the people that are in there talked about how just big and brawny her brother is. And if
Yeah.
she didn't transition, she would be absolutely awful. So I think society also needs to get a handle on what they're doing, because I think part of this push comes from even conservatives, and like when a trans person like the It's Ma'am lady, they put that person up as the
Yeah.
poster boy for trans people, and
They're
they play it
lazy.
over and over and over, and it's like,
Yeah.
y'all, like, and then so people just get so enamored with that's what trans people are,
Yeah.
and it's not. And so I think that comes with as well, society's got to change a little bit, and that's part of the reason why so many trans people want to go stealth, is because they figure they're in safety for that,
Yeah.
which again makes sense. So
But I just want to say, like, I think I'm mostly against children transitioning because if we look at our culture today, it's here in Denmark, it's in Britain, it's in the US with kids. Like the numbers are so
yeah,
high
yeah,
with kids identifying as trans, so I
oh
don't
yeah,
trust these kids because I
oh
definitely do not
yeah.
trust doctors.
No, and I'm the first one to say that the community right now, it reminds me of when I was in middle school and high school with the goth kids. Like, it was a
Yes.
community that you could, you didn't want to conform, but you conformed to that community in a way, right? So it was almost like they brought you in, that was your family. And I agree. I mean, I think Abigail's book is great, because it is raising awareness that we need to be aware of. So I think we're on the same page. I just, yeah, I can't go with blanket statements. Because there are kids that need this, and that actually we know are trans and can be saved by this, right?
Yeah.
So I think, like you said, it's kind of the same way I am with the sports issue. So like with sports, I'm like, no, we just need to shut it down. Like no trans women in women's sports. And then when we can start looking at when somebody transitioned, then we can get a hold of that.
Okay. Yeah.
um, I think that's where when I'm reading your reading between the lines of what you said earlier, like you're more against it as well. And you're right. I think we can't really trust them, but I don't think the ones that are even coming out as non-binary, I think that they know that they're not going to transition. So I think that's why they're like, no, I'm trans, but you don't have to medically transition to be trans. It's like, then that's not trans. Come on. I
You can
mean,
be it too, but it's not the same as what we're doing.
when they want to start putting masculine men or masculine women and feminine men under the trans umbrella, that's when we have a big issue. And they started
And that
doing
is
that.
transphobic. Like we're not the same as them. We're a little bit more than that, actually.
Yes. I
Yeah.
mean, I just wish we could take the T back to what it was originally supposed to mean, which was transsexual. Like
Yeah.
when I used to just consider myself a cross-dresser before I really even before so and then I separated from my wife, I moved to Atlanta and I started exploring more, and that's when I realized, okay, this makes me happy. This is actually who I am, and I would actually prefer to live my life like this. So it
Mm.
takes that time though. But I never considered myself trans when I was just cross-dressing, you know, in private.
Mm.
Or I mean, I never did it like some of these people do, like getting out there like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna
They
dress
love
over
the
here.
attention. Like
Oh my
that's the
god.
difference.
That
We
that,
hate,
that is the difference.
yeah, because in the beginning of our transitions, we hate the attention. We would like to
Hmm.
just blend in. So
Yep.
that's why you can see the fake one.
Oh yeah, I would go to the gay bars and just kind of blend. And then I started meeting people and getting a lot more confidence, and that's really where it came from. Just
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, I've actually, I mean, I do better with dating and relationships as a woman than I ever did as a man. I was an awkward dude.
Mm.
Um, you know, I
And I
was
was an
lucky.
awkward girl, so I can relate to
Exactly.
that.
Like, you know, something's different, and a lot of it comes with the confidence of transition as well, I believe.
Mhm.
Um, what is your opinion of transitioning after 18, like when it comes to gatekeeping and stuff like that?
Oh, the more the better. And I'm gonna get a lot of hate for saying that. But if you are a true transsexual, which is a buzzword apparently, you can handle being questioned. You can handle like yeah, being questioned because like the clinics here in Denmark they're great, but not great enough because
Yeah,
I never heard them once say gender dysphoria. I don't have any papers where it says I have gender dysphoria because that's
yeah,
transphobic. So we definitely need more gatekeeping because the waiting lists are so long, right?
yeah.
And
So it's a
we
little bit, yeah, that's a little bit different for you guys, because,
like Canada, I think. No.
well, it's just anywhere that has socialized medicine is going to have those types of issues because it's all free, right? Free.
Yeah, I guess.
um, and me being a libertarian, I completely think the exact opposite. I think that we need to push resources, but if you're over the age of 18, you should be able to do whatever the hell you want with your body and take whatever you want. I mean, I take I'm on informed consent with my treatment. I didn't have to have anything. I just went to the doctor and they were like, "Oh, okay, cool."
But
Which I
I
believe
think,
is
but it's
right.
like with antidepressants, medicine against anxiety, you're not mentally stable enough to treat yourself like this. So you can't just decide on your own, this is the medicine that I'm going to get, right? And I think it's the same with HRT. Like you need some professionals to examine you and all these things.
I got Lexapro. I got anxiety medicine the same way. But
Really?
they had me yeah, they had me sign a consent form. My doctor told me all the side effects of everything and they're like, here you go. And the thing about it is we already know that um DIY HRT is actually a big issue, especially in countries where there's such long wait lines and stuff like that. I mean, you can go
Yeah.
on Reddit right now and get HRT over off the
Oh,
internet. But I mean, I am also the person, like I said, I got kicked out of multiple Reddit groups for saying that that trans trenders exist and they're gonna raise the detrans rate so high when it skyrockets, then it's gonna it's gonna hurt actual trans people. So I've said that. I completely understand where you're coming from. I think after the age of 18, that was my body, my choice in a lot of ways.
yeah. I mean, I don't think it should be, uh, I don't think you should go through hell,
Yeah.
but I think right now I see people, I'm in a like a private group for trans guys here in Denmark,
Hmm.
and I see people who are not supposed to be on T. And I know it's because they're too scared to tell these people you're
Yeah.
not it. Like, so I wish because I care. Like I get it. If you do something as an adult, you should. There are consequences, and that's your own fault.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I think it's
Yeah, I
hard,
know. I'm a more personal responsibility type person that just
and I
says
get
no,
that.
it's your personal responsibility to maintain. Like you got it. Any medicine you take, you should know exactly what you're taking, anyways. What it's gonna do. Do your own research.
And they should be
Um,
better at talking about the consequences of HRT. It was
I
all like
agree.
sunshines and rainbows in my.
Oh, I agree. Like I said, I mean, and then you look on the internet, like I said, you get these go on these Reddit groups, and it's like, oh, this is great. You
They
know, they
romanticize it.
absolutely do.
Disgusting.
But I
Sorry.
mean, it's the same thing as any drug, really. It's gonna go underground. It goes underground. Anytime you ban something, it goes underground. And so I think, um, like even here, you can tell that it's like the gatekeeping and like to have surgery, you have to have so many doctors' recommendations. I'm like, I don't have to do this if I was a woman and want to get my boobs done, right? I mean, I just go in and say, yeah, I want them done. Like, okay, cool.
It's
But if
actually you said the very first question they asked me very, very first, are you on a legal HRT? Because it's so popular that,
Yeah.
especially trans guys, they take testosterone illegally.
Yeah. And it's so dangerous that way. I would rather have somebody go to the doctors and at least get monitored, um, even if there's no gatekeeping. Just say, hey, no, we're gonna go, because it's so dangerous to just take that stuff. Like, oh yeah, I've read it online. This is what my doses should be, and everything like that, right?
Yeah, we're not doctors. We're just normal
No,
people.
no, and it's funny because people on there want to act like doctors.
Yeah.
But even like I'm saying, even with surgery and stuff like that, it's like, I mean, that's just the way I've been. And I guess when I was your age, though, I was more conservative, and I've moved to be more libertarian, just more open. I think we need to protect kids, but after you turn 18, it's your
Dude,
choice. You make the choices of what you want in your life. And
I,
um
I just want to say that maybe my stance is that hormones, there should be a little bit more gatekeeping, especially where I'm from. But with surgery, it's plastic surgery, as you said.
yeah,
It's under plastic surgery, so maybe not as much gatekeeping
yeah,
on that.
yeah. Well, and that's what's kind of funny, because here it's the surgeries everywhere. There's gatekeeping when it comes to it. I have to have two psychiatrist letters, and for one of the doctors that I'm going to, one of them has to be a PhD or doctor. Yeah, so they have to like, it's got to be like a lot.
I
And
didn't have to
then
do anything.
really,
I just had to talk to the plastic
well,
surgeon.
I had to watch a video yesterday, like a 20-minute video, like everything, all the steps to go through from this place. Yeah, like they're really on top of things. But like my psychiatrist, she's just like, okay, yeah, just let me know what their letters need to say, and I'll put it on there. Well,
Yeah.
and then the other psychiatrist, the doctor, he's actually a female to male trans person too, so he kind of
Oh,
understands. So, um, what are your big projects that you got coming up, and is there anything you wanna talk about while we're on here?
you mean videos and stuff?
Yeah, anything. What are you any big issues that you're following?
Not yet. I think it's obvious to talk about the election, but I don't really want to. It's not something because we don't know anything yet. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was gonna do a video, and if you saw my last video, I basically said that I'm like, I was gonna do this video yesterday. I didn't really know what to say, because what I was gonna say was not there.
yeah, we want our content to be like great, but it's hard when we don't know anything.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. um, yeah, you said because you had just texted me before we came on here, so you were doing research into the trans military ban, and that might not even matter anymore either. So,
yeah,
um,
I am so confused about it because like I had some opinions beforehand and then someone corrected me and said no, this is actually a ban. So let's see. I think Obama, he, how was it? Obama, he made the law a while ago and then he reversed it and then no, he created new laws and then Trump went back to the first one.
yeah, so it was really, that's basically what happened. I mean, it was weird because yeah, Obama got rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell,
Mm.
which essentially freed the gates for trans people as well, which was good. Um, but it didn't free us to be able to just transition in the military. And then he changed that, um, to where you could be open, you could actually start transitioning and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and then Trump went back to, yeah, the first. So not before Don't Ask, Don't Tell, but like right in the middle, like that middle area. So he said you can't transition, um, you can't be diagnosed with gender dysphoria and everything like that. But you can serve openly as an open trans person. You just can't really do anything to transition. You could even wear a dress to, balls or anything like that if you want to. So it's a little bit different. It would
Uh,
be the same way that I served. Um,
oh yeah, yeah.
so it would be the same way that I served, but if I had come out, I probably would have been kicked out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's open like that. And um, I don't know if you know who Kristen Beck is.
Oh, I
She
don't
was
know
so
by
she
name.
was yeah, Lady Valor. You can actually go watch her documentary. She was a
Mhm.
Navy SEAL, and she transitioned after she got out. I mean, she's a friend. We talk actually quite a bit, as well on Twitter, and I want to have her on. I'm trying to get her to come on the show, but she kind of changed her tune a little bit, to be against Trump. But when Trump first tweeted it that he was going to ban everybody from the military, everybody freaked out because it was like, oh my God, we're going back, right, to don't ask, don't tell this. And it wasn't.
Yeah.
Andrew Wilkow asked her if she could have served as Chris Beck during the week and Kristen on the weekends, would she go for that? And she said yes,
Mm.
which is exactly what Trump's plan did. Now, I know as a former officer in the Army, um, it completely makes sense what Trump did because what's called a profile, you can't even really do your job. You can't do PT. You can't do anything like that. If you have surgery, is a year for gender reassignment surgery. So
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
basically out of commission for a year. And the problem with how the military HR works, if you have somebody that's on a profile and they're in your company, you can't get a replacement. They are taking up a slot that is designated to that position. So if
Mm.
they can't do their job, then you are down one person and less combat effective than what you would be. So I
Yeah.
completely understand why he would have done it. Now I do have friends that have kind of weathered the whole storm, transition through the Trump administration. So I completely get it. And I will say that the military is going to do whatever their job is. And in fact, for me, all my military friends are probably some of the most supportive people I've ever met with my
Oh, that's
transition.
great.
Yeah, I mean, I have friends that are up in the Pentagon. I have like old commanders that are, now generals and stuff like
Oh,
that. So many people, they're so supportive.
that's
And they just
great.
but they follow orders. They don't make policy, and that's kind of how your mindset is when you're in there. So we'll see
Yeah.
what kind of happens if it turns. I mean, if Biden is the next president, then we'll see how he handles it. But he's never been really super good on
LGBT stuff, huh?
LGBT issues either. I mean, he voted for Don't Ask, Don't Tell and Defense of Marriage Act. In
He's
fact,
an
he
idiot.
said in the presidential debates in 2008, he said, "No, me and President Obama are in the belief that marriage is between a man and a woman."
Exactly. Oh God, it's so fun to look back on. But I
It
just want to
is.
say with the military thing, I'm in the middle. Like I don't think you should automatically deny someone,
No.
um, and just say like, okay, you're trans. No, trans people are in different stages in their
Yeah.
transition. So if you're fully capable of duty, like come on in, right?
Yeah.
But also, I just want to say that gender dysphoria is so bad, and it's a horrible disorder and it's really bad for your mental health. So you
Mhm.
don't really want people with that to be on the front lines. But I think Blair said this, like they can be cooks, they can be like in other stations or what it's called, like
Well, that's the misconception. I hear that a lot too about military members. Because I was a logistics officer. I had females, I had everybody in my unit. I served in the 101st and the 82nd, both in infantry units. Um, so, because when we were in Afghanistan, but I was in the infantry battalion, with a support company, and I have the cooks, the mechanics, everything you can think of.
mm,
And then if you wanted to, but it's the same with, people don't know you can actually have, if you contract AIDS, you can stay in the military. Um,
mm.
People don't know that you're non-deployable, which is kind of weird because in my opinion, you make people that like that non-deployable, because Kristen said the same thing, just make them non-deployable like you do like this area. I said, but if you make people non-deployable, what happens is then the same people deploy over and over and over and over again. Part of the reason why we have non-deployable units is because people that deploy, they have what's called dwell time, to where they have to have a certain amount of time back before they deploy again. So it's nice to go from a deploying unit to a unit that's going to stay stateside or wherever for quite a while, and you go back and forth between those types of units. And it's mostly now that they're doing it for mental health reasons because of PTSD and everything like that. So I think if the misconception is that, oh yeah, you can just make them, these analysts or anything like that. Well, no, they deploy to the front lines too.
Oh, yeah.
But all right. I mean, anything else you wanna talk about, or
Mm,
what's
I'm
going on in your life?
I'm actually curious because I'm gonna post a video after this. I found it's actually I think it's a feminist who talks about the trans women are women thing.
Mm-hmm.
And my opinion is that trans women are trans women and trans men are trans men, and it's important in some situations to make that distinction. So, what do you feel about it?
I'm the same way. I think when you're talking trans issues and most issues, we have to distinguish between trans men and trans men and men, and distinguish between trans women and women. I especially when we're talking health, we're talking medicine, we're talking all that stuff. I absolutely think we need to distinguish the two, because and not only distinguish the two, but we need to um, get better at standardizing care for trans people as well. I think me and I've had a couple conversations with Buck Angel about this stuff too, because you have all this stuff that's um, you know that they want to say men have periods too, and this stuff. Shh. She wants to be in every video.
Just jealous.
So, but they want to talk these issues, and but then they confuse kids. Like if you're like, oh yeah, I'm a trans woman. Well, how many trans kids know that men don't have cervixes?
Yeah.
Like how many of them know that even after transition you don't have that? you know, and so I think we have specialized needs that we need, because like if you have top surgery and I have bottom surgery or something like that, I have special care that I need
Yes.
that most people don't. So you have to disclose that in medical settings. You can't just say, no, I'm a woman. No, you're
And luckily it's private when you think about it. Like it's between you and your doctor, so it's not like
mm-hmm.
you're forced to not. If you want to live stealth, you can do that, but your doctor, can't say anything about you to other people, and then so it shouldn't be. Oh, it's confidential. That's what the word I was looking for. So it shouldn't be that big of a problem. And I also find it pretty transphobic to erase the trans part in trans women.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it
so
absolutely is. It's like I'm proud to be trans, but I think there's so many people that feel shame that this is who they are, which I mean, you're gonna get where you're gonna get to where you want to be, and there's no reason to have shame. You should feel proud, because the only reason why you're like this is because you're strong enough to handle it, right?
yeah.
You're strong enough to go through it, and you know that you're gonna be happier when you come out the other side. So
I just want to say I do agree that trans women are women in a lot of social situations. Like you shouldn't
yes,
scream that you're trans everywhere you go. And I get how the goal is to just be a woman, be a man, but sometimes
absolutely.
you need the trans part in front of it. Not every time. I just want to say that.
No, the only time we really even see this is when we're talking trans issues, right?
Exactly.
or when we're fighting against the woke people. Because typically I'm not being, oh yeah, I'm a woman. No, I mean, I'm not going out there and just like talking about my gender or anything like that to
Yeah.
everyday people. You know, I've said this in the past. I've said it's like me being trans is like a very small part of who I am.
Mm.
But to the activists, being trans is who they are. That's their only
And
identity.
nothing else. Yeah.
And so that's why when you try to say, when people try to invalidate their identity and say, no, you're not a woman, or you're just you're a trans woman, you're not a real woman, that hurts them so much more than to me to just be like honest about who I am and be like, no, I'm not the same as you. We have our differences, and there's times that we have to talk about those differences, like the sports issue or something like that, right? When it comes
Mm.
to you know, erasing actual women's identities as well, like, you know, I think that comes to play.
It's
You know,
important.
what they've done in California, the video I just did about what's going on in California with trans women in prisons and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
we have to come up with different solutions. And I wouldn't be mad at if they gave us a third space and said,
Yeah.
oh, that's a good compromise, but it's unrealistic in my opinion to ask all these restaurants and businesses to be like, oh yeah, you have to like tell them they have to add a third space.
Oh, you mean, I thought you meant in prisons, like
Oh
maybe.
well, it's prison the same way. We do need. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's how they've done it for a long time, anyways. That they've separated
Yeah.
trans people in prisons. No, but I'm like talking even in general public,
Yeah.
because I know, and it's not as bad here. I don't know how it is there, but I see it a lot in the UK. Like the differences between a trans activist and, you know, gender critical people is so much further apart. Like in the
Mm.
UK, like that's anytime I talk to somebody on Twitter, it seems like it's always on in the UK. Because I comment on one post defending
Yeah.
gender critical, and then the next person like thinks I'm defending them, and I'm like, no, hold on. Like what do you like what? No.
Yeah.
And it's like then I start getting it from both sides. I'm just like, oh, shut up. Why did I do that?
Yeah. That's how Twitter is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like 1 second, you'll just be talking about no trans, you know, certain people can use. I mean, it's just a fucking bathroom, and then the other second, it's no, we can't erase lesbians. You know, like
Yeah.
that's what I get both sides. It's like because even I mean, it's the debate is kind of settled here, on like bathrooms and stuff like that. The UK, it's definitely not.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So thanks for coming on. Just tell everybody where they can find you at, I guess.
Yeah, on Instagram, I'm mostly active on there, TheOffensiveTranny. I'm on Twitter, love that too. And I'm also on YouTube, but not as much.
Okay. And I'll put the links below like I usually do when I have guests. So you guys can go follow him. You are gaining in popularity so quickly too.
I think it's because there's not a lot of trans guys, especially
Yeah.
speaking out against the trans mafia.
No,
So,
you're right. There are a lot of trans women on social media right now.
mm.
And there have been for a while. But lately it seems like everybody that's coming out are trans guys. There's a lot of saturation in trans women. So
And also
um
with Calvin Guerra being, on the
yeah, it's
far
starting to
left
go that way.
now.
Yeah.
So we need more trans guys to be public. It could be so great. He's retweeting Boss's tweets. I cannot.
Oh
Like,
Jesus.
he's friends with Blair, and Voss is actually making fun of Blair being raped. How can you be friends with someone who's retweeting, liking someone who can
Yeah.
say that?
Well, I didn't. Yeah, I don't understand his and Blair's relationship as it is right now. It just doesn't make any sense. Even the last video that they did together, um, which
Yeah,
there
that
was
might.
there was a spot in that video where Blair where he said something about he said, "Oh, all detransitioners
Yeah, Charles.
becomes turfs,"
Yeah,
and the look she gave him was like, And
Shut
then,
up.
she gave him the look, and then there was an edit there. So I want to
Mhm.
know what she
But
said, because it was,
I was supposed to ask you like exactly that moment. It was so cringe. Like, why say that? It's not even true.
but yeah. So what was really shocking to me about that was that, like, Blair had a detransitioner on her channel not too long ago and was very supportive of them. Like, they
It's so
were,
disrespectful to say all that, you know.
and then to call Mars the tranny with what is it? Tranny with a podcast. Yeah.
And he said it in a negative way, like a demeaning.
It
Not,
was on his video about Ariel. He said, "Yeah, oh, I bet that tranny with a podcast is going to be on here talking shit or something like that." I
I
was like,
would never say that, and my name is the offensive
I
tranny. I would never
know.
say
I use tranny when it just come in and talk about myself, not when it's still wrong to use it in a derogatory manner towards somebody.
yeah, I don't know any trans friends that I have where I feel comfortable using that.
Yeah,
Like,
calling them that name. I know.
tranny. No, like even though I'm smiling, like it makes me uncomfortable. But with myself, I don't care, of course.
Yeah, that's the same. Me too. I'm just a tranny, you know.
I'm
Yeah,
just
like you said, that's your name. That's your name, and that's where.
yeah,
But you state that you're offensive, so it's okay.
yeah. I'm never offensive.
It's
Got
understandable.
Mars, he's amazing.
Yes, but
I'm
okay.
proud.
But again, yeah. Thanks for coming on. I'll put the stuff in the link, and then yeah, we'll do some more collabs here in the future,
Yes,
right?
definitely.